Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. What you're about to hear is a story of betrayal, silence, and a truth buried so deep it took years, and one unexpected knock, to unearth it. This is a story of disappearance. And I was the one who vanished. It was raining sideways the day she knocked on the service window of the auto shop. I was under a '99 Pontiac, soaked in axle grease, when someone banged on the glass like the world was ending. We don't usually get walk-ins during storms, and certainly not with tear-streaked cheeks and a trembling voice asking, "Is your name Curtis?" She held a picture, curled edges, faded colors, and a face I hadn't seen in over a decade. I didn't answer, because I knew. Everything I had spent years running from was suddenly 3 feet away, clutching a plastic folder like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She was older now, but she had Delaney's lips, and those same brown eyes that never belonged to me. The baby I left behind had found me. But before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand why I left in the first place. Why I packed a duffel bag, walked out the back door, and never looked back. Delaney and I never fought. Not really. She was the type to win arguments by going silent. I tried to talk things out. She'd scroll her phone. I used to think she was just tired, or introverted, or bored of me. She used to twist her wedding ring when I talked too much. I'd ask how her day went, and she'd say fine, without looking up. I'd cook, clean, try to surprise her with little things. A note in her purse. Her favorite coffee. Once I made a playlist of songs we used to dance to back when we still danced. She laughed when she found it. Said it was corny. We were trying for a baby. Or I thought we were. Every month, she'd act disappointed. Every month, I felt like less of a man. Then one Tuesday, she told me she was pregnant. She said it casually, like she was announcing dinner. "I got the results," she said, sipping her wine. "It's positive." She smiled, but not the way people smile when they're happy. More like someone completing a to-do list. I convinced myself it was nerves. I threw myself into prepping the nursery. I told everyone. My mom wept on the phone. I bought little socks and put them in a drawer just so I could open it and smile. When the baby was born, something twisted in my gut. Brown eyes. Delaney's were hazel. Mine were blue. My dad's were green. My mom's were gray. But I didn't say a word. I spent 2 years loving that little girl like my own. Because to me, she was. Until the night Delaney left her unlocked phone on the couch. I wasn't snooping. I just saw a notification. "Zane, she's beautiful. You think he suspects?" My hands went numb. I scrolled up. Photos. Messages. References to the trip. References to me. To her. I took the test in secret. Sent the kid off and paced the hallway for 5 days straight. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just watched that little girl sleep in her crib and wondered if she'd ever know what I was about to find out. The results were definitive. 0.0. Delaney lied. Every coup. Every daddy. Every anniversary kiss. All of it sat on a rotten foundation. I didn't scream. I didn't hit walls. I didn't even cry. I just disappeared. I didn't hop on a plane. I didn't fake my death. That's the dramatic version people like to imagine. The truth is, I drove. I got into my beat-up Tacoma with a half-full tank and drove until the roads turned from asphalt to dust and the radio gave out. I didn't know where I was going, just that it had to be away from her. From them. From the house I once painted with my own hands. From the name, Daddy, which used to sound like purpose, but now felt like a bad joke whispered behind my back. I ended up in a town called Pinevale. No family. No friends. Just one gas station, 2 bars, and a mechanic shop that always had an open sign flickering, even at midnight. I started working there under the table. Told the owner my name was Mark, and he didn't care as long as I showed up on time and didn't steal from the register. For the first time in years, I wasn't a husband, a father, or a disappointment. I was just a ghost in coveralls. But ghosts remember. I checked their social media at night. Created fake profiles just to look. Delaney never posted much, but her friend Tara did. That's how I saw Marley's 3rd birthday. A unicorn cake. A backyard full of balloons. Zane was there, wearing a polo shirt and a smirk. Holding my daughter. She looked happy. Confused, maybe, but happy. I hated myself for checking. Every time I saw a new post, I swore it would be the last. And every time I clicked anyway. A year passed. Then another. I started writing letters I never intended to send. I told Marley about my favorite books, about the time I got stung by a jellyfish in 8th grade, about the day I cried in a grocery store parking lot, because I saw a toddler with the same laugh as hers. I kept the letters in a shoebox under my bed. I never mailed them. What would I say? Hey, I'm the guy who used to kiss your forehead every night, but left when I found out you weren't mine. No court would have blamed me. No one would have demanded child support. I had the DNA results, the legal proof. But none of that mattered when I passed kids in the street and flinched, or when I couldn't hear the word dad without my throat closing. One night, just after her 5th birthday, I drove back to the old neighborhood. Just to see, just to know. They didn't see me. I parked 2 houses down, engine off, sitting in the dark. Their windows were glowing orange. I could see silhouettes. Marley dancing, Delaney laughing, Zane holding a drink. They looked like a family, a real one. And that's when I realized something I hadn't admitted out loud. I left because I couldn't unlove her. And I couldn't forgive Delaney for letting me. That combination, it's deadly. I never knocked on the door. I never made a sound. I just disappeared again. But that was before the knock on my door. I didn't recognize her at first. You'd think you would, after rocking someone to sleep for 2 years. But years do something to a face. They carve it, stretch it, hide it beneath layers of other people's influence. She wasn't the chubby-cheeked baby I used to sing to. She was a teenager now, taller than I expected, standing in my doorway with a confidence I couldn't relate to, holding a laminated file in one hand and a tremor in the other. "Are you Curtis Lamont?" she asked. My heart didn't stop. It collapsed in on itself. I nodded, too scared to speak. She didn't hug me, didn't cry. She didn't even look angry. Just tired, like she'd rehearsed 1,000 versions of this moment and still didn't know how it was supposed to go. I think you used to be my dad." There's no script for a sentence like that. I let her in, made tea. My hands were shaking so badly, I spilled half the kettle on the counter. We sat across from each other in that ugly little kitchen, me in the same oil-stained shirt I'd worn to work, her in a faded hoodie with the sleeves pulled over her fists. She looked around like she was trying to place the man in front of her. The silence stretched like a rubber band, ready to snap. "I found the letters," she finally said. I blinked. "What letters?" She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small shoebox. My shoebox. The one I had buried under a floorboard in the trailer I rented before I moved to this dump. I stared at it like it was haunted. "You left them," she said. "Whoever owns that place now found them and posted one on Facebook. A friend of mine recognized the name. I've been looking for you ever since." I opened the box with trembling fingers. Every letter was there, folded neatly, yellowing at the edges. I didn't remember half of what I wrote. Some were childish, rambling. Some were soaked in desperation. Others love. Honest, aching love. The kind I wasn't supposed to feel after leaving. "I don't blame you," she whispered. "I just want to know, why didn't you come back?" And just like that, my rehearsed excuses vanished. Not because I didn't have reasons, but because no reason felt good enough anymore. "Because I thought loving you would hurt you," I said. "Because I was angry at her. Because I hated myself for not being able to hate you." She stared down at her hands. One of her nails was chewed to the quick, just like I used to do when I was nervous. "I didn't come here for an apology," she said. "I came because I need you." I didn't breathe. She looked up. "I need to know who I am. And I think you're the only person who ever treated me like I was more than just a mistake." And that was it. That one sentence shattered every wall I'd spent the last decade building. She didn't want money, or a hug, or some fake reunion story. She wanted the truth. She wanted history. She wanted me. And somewhere between the tea going cold and the tears neither of us wanted to acknowledge, I realized something terrifying. Delaney didn't know she was here. Marley's eyes darted around my kitchen like she was checking for hidden cameras. Her hoodie was damp from the rain outside, and when she pulled her hands out of the sleeves, I saw a faint bruise on her wrist. Not a child's bruise, the kind of bruise that comes from someone grabbing you too hard. My stomach knotted. All the years of distance melted into a single, unbearable instinct. Protect her. "Did your mother know you were coming here?" I asked. My voice cracked like a teenager's. She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, she doesn't even know I know your name." "Then how?" "I hacked her email," she said flatly. "She had an old draft with your name in it. I started looking from there. It took me months." Her voice was so steady it scared me. This wasn't a reunion. It was a rescue mission she had planned herself. I tried to steady my hands on the table. "Marley, what's going on?" She drew a slow breath, then dropped the bomb. "Zane isn't who you think he is. He's worse. He's not just my biological father. He's controlling my mom. Everything. Her money. Her job. Even me. I blinked, trying to process. Controlling? Like, he tracks my phone. He won't let me apply to college unless it's near him. He yells at her behind closed doors. I can't even have a bank account. She looked down at her bruised wrist. If I talk back, he disciplines me. That's what he calls it. Something inside me broke. I had spent years running from the pain of losing a family I thought was mine. Meanwhile, the family I left behind was living in a silent war zone. I reached across the table, my fingers hovering like I wasn't sure I had the right to touch her. Why come to me? I asked quietly. Because you're the only person who ever treated me like I mattered, she said. And because I think he's planning something. I overheard him talking about moving us out of state. I don't want to go. I want out. I want to know who I really am. I need help. The words sank like stones. I could almost hear the sound of my own heart beating against my ribs. For years I told myself leaving was noble, self-protective, even necessary. But now she was sitting here, living proof that my escape had left her trapped with a man who should never have been in her life. I don't have money, I said. I don't even have a car that wouldn't break down on the interstate. I don't care, she replied. I just need you to not leave me again. I turned to the window. Pinevale looked exactly the same as the day I arrived. Gray sky, cracked sidewalks, neon beer signs flickering in the distance. But the ghost version of me who lived here had just been yanked back into flesh and blood. This wasn't just a reunion anymore. It was a countdown. I looked back at Marley and, for the first time since she walked in, spoke with something like certainty. Then we need a plan. I didn't sleep that night. Marley crashed on the old couch with a throw blanket that barely covered her legs, and I sat in the corner armchair, staring at the shadows dancing across the floor. Every creak in the walls made my chest tighten. I kept thinking about the bruise on her wrist, the way she flinched when someone knocked at the door earlier, even though it was just the mailman. We were being watched. I could feel it. At sunrise, I made coffee and slid a notebook across the table. We need to write everything down, I said. Where he takes you, what his routine is, anything we can use. Marley nodded, pulling her knees up to her chest as she scribbled. She was sharper than I expected, organized, almost methodical. Like this wasn't the first time she'd imagined running. That broke me more than I let her see. She told me about the cameras at their house, one in the hallway, one over the front door, and one hidden in a smoke detector in her room. Zane used to work in IT. He wasn't sloppy. He made sure Delaney couldn't leave without him knowing. Marley had memorized his phone password, though, and had already copied screenshots of his emails. Some were mundane. Others were disturbing. One thread chilled me. He was trying to get custody of Marley, legally, which didn't even make sense since he'd never acknowledged being her biological father. But now he was preparing to prove it. DNA tests, witnesses, character statements. He was laying a legal trap to make sure she'd never be able to leave. And worst of all, Delaney was helping him. I thought she hated him too, Marley whispered. But she lets him control everything. It's like she's afraid of him, or loyal to him. I don't know which is worse. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I used to think Delaney was many things, selfish, distant, maybe even a liar. But I never thought she'd sacrifice her own daughter's freedom just to keep her life intact. We need to move fast, I said. You can't go back, not even to get clothes. She nodded. That's when I made my first mistake. I borrowed a car from a guy at the shop and took Marley to Walmart. Just to get the basics, a change of clothes, toiletries, a prepaid phone. We split up to move faster. I gave her $40 and told her to meet me near the pharmacy in 20 minutes. 15 minutes later, she hadn't shown. I checked the toy aisle. Then women's clothing. Then bathrooms. Gone. Panic gripped my chest. I called out her name like a lunatic, earning looks from strangers. My hands were sweating. My head was spinning. Then I spotted her, standing in the electronics section. Frozen. Delaney was with her. My heart stopped. Delaney was gripping Marley's arm, whispering something low and fast. Marley looked pale, rigid, her eyes locked on me like a trapped animal spotting the only open door in a burning house. I started walking. Delaney turned and saw me. Her face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Not sadness. Not regret. Fury. You had no right, she hissed, stepping in front of Marley like a shield. No right to take her. She came to me, I said. She found me. She's a child, she snapped. You think you can just walk back into her life after disappearing for years? She's not safe with him. She's my daughter. No, I said calmly. She's ours. And you let him ruin her life. Delaney slapped me. Not hard, but hard enough to wake everyone around us. And then she took Marley's hand and started dragging her away. But Marley didn't move. For a split second, time stopped. Marley's hand was caught in Delaney's grip, her body half turned toward the exit, but her eyes, those weren't going anywhere. They were locked on me. I stood there, stunned, with the sting of Delaney's slap still blooming across my cheek, while shoppers paused around us, frozen mid-cart push, mid-text, mid-judgment. Some instinct told them this wasn't just a family argument. This was something deeper, sharper. Marley, Delaney said through gritted teeth, we're going home. Now. Marley didn't budge, not even an inch. Delaney tugged her arm, but Marley planted her feet. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the silence like a siren. No. Delaney blinked. Excuse me. I said no. Marley turned fully toward me. Her voice was louder now. I'm not going with you. I'm going with him. Delaney's jaw dropped. Her face twisted into something desperate, half betrayal, half disbelief. He's not even your father. The words hung in the air like smoke. I should have broken then. I should have collapsed under the weight of that sentence. But I didn't. Because Marley stepped away from her mother and said something I'll never forget for as long as I live. No, she said. But he's the only one who ever made me feel like I had won. The silence that followed was deafening. Delaney looked like she'd been slapped herself. Her mouth opened, then shut, then opened again. She reached for Marley's arm once more, but this time, Marley pulled away hard. No fear. No hesitation. An employee finally walked over, asking if everything was all right. Delaney was too shaken to answer. I just took Marley's hand, carefully, gently, and we walked out. No screaming. No cops. Just the kind of eerie calm that only follows an explosion. We didn't speak until we were back in the borrowed truck. Marley stared out the window, arms crossed, knees pulled to her chest. I kept glancing over, waiting for her to cry, regret it, something. But all she said was, she's not going to let this go. She doesn't have to, I said. You chose. And I heard you. But Marley was right. By that night, Delaney had already called the police, reported her daughter as abducted. I didn't even get the chance to explain before 2 deputies showed up at the motel we were staying at, asking questions I wasn't ready for. I showed them the bruises, the messages, the letters. Marley spoke up for herself. Clearly, calmly. She told them she wasn't abducted, that she came here on her own, that she was 17 and had every right to leave a dangerous home. One of the deputies nodded slowly. You're close to 18? He asked. 3 months, she said. He looked at his partner. Then technically, she's a runaway. But we're not arresting anyone. Not with this. He gestured to her wrist. They left without taking her back. But they made it clear this wasn't over. Not legally. Not emotionally. And definitely not with Zane still in the picture. That night, Marley sat beside me on the edge of the bed, watching the motel TV flicker in the dark. She's going to come for me, she whispered. So will he. I know, I said. But this time, I'm not going anywhere. And I meant it. But I didn't realize how fast they'd strike. The knock came just after 7 a.m. I was in the middle of making eggs in a skillet that stuck no matter how much oil I used, while Marley was still curled under the motel blanket. The knock wasn't frantic, it was deliberate. Slow. I already knew it wasn't good. 2 men in suits stood outside. Not police. Lawyers. They handed me a manila envelope stuffed with legal documents. Delaney and Zane were filing for a restraining order. Against me. For unlawful contact with a minor, parental interference, and emotional manipulation. I laughed. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe the audacity. They're claiming I kidnapped her. I said, flipping through the pages. They're not just claiming it, the shorter man replied. They've submitted digital evidence, altered texts, out-of-context emails, even a screenshot of a letter you wrote saying you missed her and wanted her back. I stared blankly. That letter was never meant to be seen, let alone used against me. I wrote it at my lowest, back when I thought I'd never see her again. She's almost 18, I argued. She came to me. She wants to stay. That's not how they're framing it. And they weren't bluffing. That afternoon, a local parenting blog published an article titled, biological stranger hiding runaway teen in Pinevale Motel. It had a grainy photo of me from my old Facebook profile, looking dazed and greasy. They dug up the fact I'd been using a different name at the mechanic shop, called me a drifter, accused me of luring a vulnerable girl away from her home. They never mentioned the bruises, or the hidden cameras, or the messages. The phone at the motel rang off the hook. Reporters, strangers, even my old landlord. The manager asked us to leave by morning. Said he wasn't getting involved in family drama. Translation, the story made him nervous. Marley didn't cry, not once, but her silence grew thicker, heavier. At one point she sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through the comments on the article. I told her not to. She did it anyway. He looks like a creep. She probably ran away because of him. Poor mother. Imagine your daughter being brainwashed by some loser ex. I sat beside her. She didn't look up. Do you still want to stay? I asked. She turned toward me, eyes glassy but firm. Now more than ever. We knew what came next. Court, social workers, maybe even police if the lawyers pushed hard enough. But we also knew we had one card left to play, and Marley was the one who had it. That night, she opened her laptop and uploaded everything. Videos from the hallway camera she secretly recorded. Audio clips of Zane yelling at her. Screenshots of bruises. She didn't post them publicly. She sent them to a woman named Tara, Delaney's old friend. The same one who used to post Marley's birthday photos. The one who had slowly distanced herself from Delaney over the years. She'll believe me, Marley said. And if she doesn't, we're on our own. Tara responded an hour later. She believed her. She also forwarded the entire package to a journalist she knew in Chicago. One who wasn't afraid of getting sued. We didn't know what would happen next. But we knew one thing. The silence was broken. And the people who built their lies on my disappearance? They were about to find out what happens when the truth decides to scream. The article dropped on a Monday morning, right as the town was gearing up for its annual street fair. It wasn't just a blog post. It was an exposé. Full page. Verified. Sourced. With screenshots, transcripts, and yes, even photos of bruises, matched to the dates Marley recorded them. The journalist didn't hold back. She didn't just call out Zane's manipulation and control. She dug into his employment history, his workplace behavior, even HR complaints that had been handled quietly. Delaney wasn't spared either. She was painted not as a villain, but as a woman who chose fear and convenience over her daughter's safety. That made it hit even harder. By noon, the phone call stopped. The motel manager knocked on the door, not to evict us, but to apologize. He offered us an extra night, free of charge. I didn't take it. We were already packing. 3 days later, Child Services dropped the case. No charges. No more court hearings. No more lawyers. Delaney never tried to contact Marley again. Zane resigned from his job to focus on his personal matters. Last I heard, he moved 2 towns over. Quietly. Alone. As for us, I got my old name back. Curtis Lamont. The mechanic job offered me a permanent spot with better hours. Marley enrolled in a local community college that fall. Not a fancy one. Not the one Delaney wanted. But one she chose. She's studying psychology now. Says she wants to help kids who feel like no one believes them. Says it's because someone finally believed her. We don't talk about what we lost anymore. We talk about what we're building. The apartment's small. Marley's room has a dent in the ceiling and the heater rattles when it's cold, but it's ours. I still wake up some nights in a panic, thinking she's gone. Thinking this was all a dream. But then I hear her laugh from the kitchen, singing off-key to whatever indie band she's obsessed with that week. And I remember, we didn't just survive. We started over. Last week, she handed me an envelope. No stamp. Just my name in messy handwriting. Inside was a letter. Just one line. I don't care what anyone says. You've always been my dad. Yeah, I cried. Thank you for staying with us through this entire story. If any part of it resonated with you, or reminded you of something you've lived through, drop a comment below. What moment in this story hit you the hardest? Was it the slap in the store, the motel visit, or Marley's final letter? This is Reddit Confessions.